Games, board games. I might be talking about two different board games, but I'm not gonna shout. Today I'm going to talk about Magic the Gathering, Dominaria, Domin, Dominaria United is something I've been playing. It was a pre-release yesterday, and there were only 3 rounds in the games I played. I made a deck and it was a lot of fun. I didn't always win, but at least a few were won by me. And Daybreak, it's by Matt Leacock and Matteo Minapace. This was with 3 other people, something I also played. We managed to win, and thanks to various things, and that is going to be what I talk about after singing board game. Daybreak and Dominaria United is what I'm talking about. Daybreak and Dominaria United, I'm not gonna shout. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. I am Bez. Time for Bezzy Beats and Board Game Blether. Now, today it's going to be episode 744. Wow, I mean, like coming up to 800 episodes. That's like just. And yeah, I guess I'm also talking about an abstract idea. Of course, I wrote that there. I just wanted to make this a relatively quick show and talk about what I got up to yesterday, and also maybe talk about a new game idea that I invented yesterday. So, yeah, let's talk. And the whole thing is basically recent highlights. But let me ask you, do you have anything that you want to share? Please tell me about your recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights, recent highlights. And actually, before I progress, I'm going to talk about a brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? And my brilliant thing for today is going to be cohesion between, like, thematic cohesion and also games. Yeah, a strong sense in a game of this is what you should do, and you want to have different options, sure. Like, especially in a game where you construct your deck or you get combos going, you want there to be different options, of course. And hello, Josie, it is lovely to see you. And on the screen, this is a game by Matt Leacock, well-known designer of such games as Pandemic, Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert, and also Matteo Minapace, a friend of mine who was a resident game designer at Victoria and Albert for a few years and made games about memory and a cooperative game about surgery. And yeah, this game came about. So I've already talked about the brilliant thing, like cohesion. Yeah, different things that you want to do. Like in this game, I'll get to it. You've got like, it's all about the incremental advantage, right? I think that what this game is basically trying to say is that, well, what it told me and what I think is a fair message, is that every tree you plant, it's not just sequestering carbon for that year, it's sequestering carbon for every single year. So incremental improvements are a massive thing. And if you get rid of your reliance, you can't just be doing things that are going to need more effort every single year. There's no point in that. You need to make massive structural changes. So as soon as you get rid of your reliance on cars, then that's one less car, or if you lower that, that's less carbon that you'll be putting into the atmosphere every single year thereafter, which is really good. And I mean, I would be interested to, now that I've played the game, read a small booklet about the science. That's something that I really hope would come forward with the game, and if there was, some, because it feels like surely it's not that simple, but maybe it is. And maybe it is as simple as saying, yeah, we can't be just focusing on, I mean, things that don't improve life or things that are always taking effort, or, yeah, sure, we can change our behaviors, but the better thing to do is to subsidize massively public transport and, um, you know, get the clean energy sorted. I mean, that would make such a massive difference. And I think that's the reason why we won. And it kind of pushes you in a particular direction. It kind of makes a strong statements. And actually, if I close this and just look very quickly at Magic the Gathering. So Magic the Gathering, for those, I'll get into it. But here, my cards pushed me very hard into Domain. Domain is all about having a lot of different types of basic lands. The basic lands are your resources. And if you have different types of resources in your deck and you need different types of resources, then it's less reliable because you might not get the right colors. Because if you only use one color, then obviously that's the most reliable. Every resource that you get is correct for the spells you want to play. But if you've got all five, that's the least reliable. But then you've got access to all the different colors of spells. Now, a new mechanism, well, it's not a new mechanism, but the thing that they've pushed really hard is Domain. And on this particular card, which you can see that I've played on turn 4, and I managed to have 5 different types of resources thanks to 2 of my lands being slower lands that come into play tapped, which means that you can't use them until the next turn. But then they've got 2 types. And this gives me the potential to draw another card every turn. And then I had another card that also allowed me to draw another card every turn, but then the price to activate it was lowered by 1. And so if I had, again, Domain 5, as in all 5 types of lands, I could tap it for free. And that was amazing. And so, like, from turn 5, turn 6, I was regularly drawing 2 cards a turn, whereas my opponents were typically drawing 1, but then it would also depend on what they had. And in theory, I could have been drawing 3 cards a turn, but then obviously they don't let you do that. They start killing your creatures, because of course you would, your opponents. Anyway, so my point is that my brilliant thing for today is a game that pushes you into a particular direction, says, hey, this is how you want to play, and gives you a signpost. So signposts like the Domain that says, hey, play all the colors, or the signpost also in the same set that had some tokens and some cards that were sacrifice a creature. Maybe if I use one of these tokens, because these tokens are creatures, but they're always much worse than a proper creature. That's well, they are proper creatures, but they're just not very good creatures. So if you've got a card that gives you multiple rubbish creatures, like just from one card you get multiple rubbish creatures, and then other cards that force you to sacrifice creatures, well, then you've got some rubbish creatures that you can sacrifice to those. And so, again, signposts. I think that is the brilliant thing, and having some idea. And yeah, the signposts here are the icon system that says, hey, what you want to be doing is pushing things that match these icons and keep moving them up. So giving you some guidance in a game is a brilliant thing. So that is me. Let's get rid of that wee banner. Josie says, I played Magic the Gathering last week too. Probably for the first time in about 4 years. Enjoyed it, but was with pre-made decks. I get frustrated at collectible card games as I feel I'm priced out of creating good decks. Yeah, I know what you mean. And this is the challenge. Honestly, anywhere where it's not a... Yeah, you need to really set some system so that people are playing on a level playing field. And I think that that is a major... that is a major restriction, downside, whatever you want to call it, to collectible card games. Like if I play, like the deck I made last night, I was really chuffed with, and I actually ended up paying the shop 70p to get a few extra cards that I thought, oh, these could work well in that deck. And I might turn it into a commander deck, which basically means you have to have only one of each deck and it has to be 100 cards. But then my commander deck would be much worse than someone's commander deck that has, you know, if they've got the Mox, if they've got the Moxes in them, or if they've got a Sol Ring, or if they've got, you know, other powerful cards like that are, yeah, there's a lot of cards that cost a lot just for one card. And yeah, that's a big, so like, then could you say, okay, your cards are worse, then okay, you get to play with just a 50 card deck so that you at least get to keep your better ones. Yeah, I know. I kind of feel the same. So Josie says, I think that's why I prefer a pre-made board game. It's only one price, and I do feel the same. I prefer either if one person makes all the decks and then says, hey, here's all the decks, choose whichever ones you would like. And that works well because then if I go and I'm actually maybe seeing a friend, Amy, potentially sometime, you know, in the next couple of weeks, and we might play Commander. And whilst I would like that ownership, whilst I love the sense of the ownership of saying, this is what it is, then that's, while I would love to bring my own deck, that would just fail. So instead, Amy has like 5 different decks that they've made. And so it's going to be like, hey, which one of these would you rather play? Let me quickly tell you about them. And so they're not pre-made, but they're all made by one person. And essentially they are pre-made. Functionally, they're the same. Either they're pre-made by designer or all made together to work well together to have a similar power level. The other way you can do it is have some sorts of, I really wish Choose Your Own Standard had taken off, because that is a really low power level, but it's, yeah, essentially, yeah, exactly. If they're all balanced in power, that does feel a lot better. And there are different formats. You can say, okay, we're all going to play just standard, which is the last 2 years, but then that rotates out. And Mark Rosewater invented a format called Choose Your Own Standards, where basically choose any 2 years, and they don't have to be 2 connected years. So it could be this year and this year, like 5 years in the future, and then you only play cards from any 2 years, but you can't choose the first like 5 years of the game, because the first 5 years everything was all over the board. Like it was all some ridiculously good cards. That's when they were still working out what was what. And that means that, yeah, you don't need to spend a lot. If you buy something for standard, you could just keep using that. And I think that, but then unless other people are playing the same thing, then you can't do it. And so that's actually why I think that having one person just do the whole thing makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the other thing, while we're talking about Magic the Gathering, yeah, the reason that I love pre-releases and why I would always push towards gravitate towards pre-releases that have more rounds is, look, I paid £30 and that included a drink. So like most places it was 25 quid. This place it was 30 quid and you got a beer. The beer was actually very nice. It was something I'd never tasted before. I wish I'd got to the photo of it. I'd never heard of it before. It was a fancy lager bottle. But yeah, it's, so yeah, I kind of see that as I pay a price, and it is quite a high price for what is essentially 4 hours of entertainment. I mean, I don't know how much value I'm going to get out of those cards. Like the 70p was like, it's 70p. I will buy these things and that might give me some entertainment, and I'm rich enough that I don't worry too much about the 70p here or there. But yeah, I'm aware that the £30 is a good chunk, and I see it very much as I went there, I got to meet 3 new people, everyone was nice, We played games together. I got to try my new deck against a consistent power level because we were all given cards from the same set, and we all got, I think it was 6 boosters, and so we all made our things, and we all got like one super powerful card, and mine, yeah, my super powerful card never really got going, to be honest. It never used its superpower. The superpower was that if other things were, yeah, exactly, the pre-release event. So, yeah, let's, since we're talking about that, let me get the Magic the Gathering pictures up. So, yeah, at the pre-release event, as I said, I made a deck that was 5 colors. It was pretty evenly split. I didn't have any mountains, although I wish I'd put in just one because I had enough of these dual lands. These dual lands are really good. So in a slow format, if it was a super fast format, but like they can tap for either color and they count as either one of those lands, which is really important if you have a card that counts how many different types of lands you have. And because they come into play tapped and they can't be used, obviously that slows you down by 1 turn but if you've got a hand with some of them and some normal basic lands, then that means that you choose, okay, this turn I wouldn't be able to use it anyway, so I'm going to play that and delay it, but give myself more flexibility next turn, whereas this turn I will actually be able to use both in turn 2, I'll do this and I'll ramp up, and also even had like spells that allowed me to ramp up to extra lands faster. And it's really hard choosing your cards because at the start it's like, okay, these are terrible, these are okay, these are actually very nice. And then when I looked at all the very nice things, I had like about 50 cards, and you're only meant to use 20 free. And so then I went through and I was like, okay, and then I ended up with 28. So okay, now I need to make some hard decisions. Let's get rid of 5 of them. And everyone was lovely. The person beside me, I mean, I made all my decisions, but I just wanted someone to say, yeah, that's not so bad. It's like, am I right about this card, that it's actually about average power level, but if you've got this thing, then it's good? And they're like, yeah, you're probably right, because they'd been playing basically every week. And so it was casual, like if someone made a mistake, like my second opponent, I offered to let them go back because it was explicitly casual level, like we weren't meant to enforce all the rules like at the strictest thing. And so they were, oh, I attack, and then I attach this as equipment, and I said, technically you need to attach the equipment just before you announce the attack, but it doesn't matter. And they're like, no, let's play by the rules. And I was like, wow, I would never tell anyone to stick with, like, sure, if there was like money or a massive prize or like something on the line, I would take advantage of that. But this was meant. So I guess this person, maybe for themselves, just really wanted to, maybe they were just trying to get really, really good anyway. But yeah, let's flick through my pictures. That's a card that I worked well with. That's Luca, who's French, and I beat them. And yeah, their deck was also really fun. This was my second opponent, was playing mainly red-black, just smashing me in the face hard and kept going. And yeah, they sadly beat me. And then my third opponent, not pictured, it was a really, really close game. And they basically had their 2 incredibly best cards at the moment. And so it could have come out either way. Like they had some good luck, I had some good luck. And possibly I made some worse decisions than they made, whether it was in the deck building but I'm not going to obsess about how do I become better, how would I make this deck better. I'm not going to play another pre-release event today, although I could. I feel like I've had my fill of Magic the Gathering for at least as far as paid events go. I've given them enough money for a few months. Were they all 1 versus 1 games? Yes, they are. At a pre-release event, they are typically 1 versus 1. So the way it works is that you make your deck and then you get paired with someone randomly. There were 10 of us, and it was only 3 rounds, which I do prefer events that are like 4 rounds. You don't normally get events that are 5 rounds unless it's kind of organized by someone really casually, because a shop will typically want to free up those tables after a while. But yeah, I would say that if I know that an event is going to be 3 rounds, I would prefer to avoid it in favor of something that's 4 rounds, just to get that extra hour of entertainment. Anyway, so if you win your first game, you'll probably be paired against someone who's won their first game as well. And then whatever your ranking, you'll be paired against someone who's got a similar ranking. They do sometimes have 2 versus 2, and there is something called Two-Headed Giant, where you go in with a friend and you plan something together, and it's a team of 2 versus a team of 2, and then you're able to think, okay, this is about my teammates, and maybe you'll have some synergies between your cards and their cards, and maybe you'll be, I can't remember if you can even share your cards. It's been a while since I played one of those, but yeah, that's basically it. So my review of Dominaria, it doesn't have the explosive pull that I got with Demir with the Return to Ravnica. I don't think that this is the best. I don't think this is necessarily my favorite set that I've ever played. My favorite sets, for the record, are Rise of Eldrazi, which is really slow, and it felt really different because I played lots of Magic. I like the twist. I like it when decks push me to do something different. Return to Ravnica with 5 different guilds and 5 very different strategies that can combine in different ways. Like when I was so in love with that. I played like multiple pre-release events, and I think I was the Mirror twice, the blue-black thing, which is all about getting the other person to take to get to empty their library, and once your library is empty, then you lose. Yeah, it was a good, solid event. Every card seemed interesting. There wasn't the filtering of cards. When I look at my cards, I don't sort them by color. I just go through card quality, and it was really hard when I was like terrible, meh, and oh, I would like to play this. The I would like to play this pile was by far the biggest, and the no, I can definitely discount this pile was about, yeah, the meh pile had a good chunk in it, but the I can definitely discount this, which in some old formats like Ice Age and like, look, if you look at those old sets with modern eyes, with modern sensibilities, it's like, wow, things have improved since then. Like if Magic the Gathering of 1993 was released today, people would just not be playing it. But, you know, obviously that was a very different landscape, and today's gaming landscape would not exist without Magic the Gathering. And it's just fascinating how it's evolved, where you've got a good number of cards that do signposting, like I was saying earlier, where, hey, maybe you might want to do that, but if you don't do that thing, it's still an okay card. Like my main creature, I don't think I've got a photo of it. I was tempted to, but yeah, it was a small 1 green, 1 blue mana, and a small 2/1 flyer with a special ability. I never used the special ability, sadly. Sad times, people. But with this special ability, even without the special ability, it was still a good, solid card. And there were so many cards that are, oh, if I get domain 5, this is amazing. But if I get domain 3, it might still be worth playing. And so, yeah, great work, as always, from the Magic the Gathering team, and this makes me want to continue to play all the pre-release events going forwards until I leave the UK. Josie has a couple of points. When we play games on Friday, when we played games on Friday, they did a pre-release, but they were playing in fours. There were about 20 or slightly more people in the event. That sounds like two-headed and giant. It would be 2 versus 2. Typically, you need to sign up as a team of 2, so you need to find someone else where it's like, yeah, we will join up. And you can, in theory, go there and find a stranger to play with, but it's more fun if you've got, okay, we're 2 friends, and then we're playing, because I mean, people are normally cool, right? But if you find, and all 3 people that I played against were totally cool, and I would have been happy to have any of them as a teammate. But if you have someone who's, I'm not sure I get on with them, then if you're only playing with them for an hour, that's fine. But if you're playing with them like the whole evening and they are, your teammates for like this 4 or 5 hour event, that's not great. But yeah, if you want to do a two-headed giant sometime, let me know. I think they allocated people from in the shop when people didn't have others. Yeah, exactly. You can turn up on your own, so it is more accessible. But anyway, the other point that Josie made was the standard decks are also price limiting, as if you were into it 3 years ago, they will suddenly then be unusable. But that's where you're thinking of standard. I mentioned choose your own standard, which choose your own standard is basically, if you have a standard deck, that will by definition always be choose your own standard compliant. But choose your own standard could be any standard format, so any 2 years, from any point from when they started doing standard, or it could be 2 slightly different years that were a year apart. So basically, if you played the game during this set and then played the game during this set, no, you don't have to play during the same years. That's the beauty of it. So I might say, okay, I really like this. So I've got to choose one standard deck, but I've literally never found anyone following the same format. And I wish that, again, I wish it was more popular. And this is the thing, like, that's the... I don't want to make this an entire show just about Magic the Gathering, but that's kind of the downside, that it's only as good as your meta game. It's only as good as your environment in which you play. It's only as good as can you find others to play it with you, because the whole appeal of it, building your deck, that only has actual value of the ownership of your deck if you can find other people who are also choosing the same format. So my Choose Your Own Standard deck has some cards from the Shards of Alara year. I can't remember what that was. Let's say it's 2005 randomly. And then some cards from the Lorwyn Shadowmoor year. So that might have been 2003. And it was like during the second year that Mark Rosewater said, hey, this is my new idea. And Mark Rosewater is the head designer of Magic. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. But then no one else seemed to kind of pick up on it. And the idea is that, like, if I've got, hey, this is any 2 years of Magic from like when the game's kind of stabilized, like let's say the first 5 years is stabilization. From then on, the power level has been relatively, consistent. Sure, there have been like minor waves, like maybe black is more powerful here, this aspect is more powerful here, elves are more powerful here, but like the overall power level of what you can make, maybe except for Uzar's Legacy, that's a really powerful set, people say. But generally, the power level is fairly consistent. And so if I've got my standard deck from whichever set of years, and you've got your standard deck from whichever set of years, we should be able to play together. And Mark Rosewater's idea was that would allow people to play with a relatively... It was invented to be sort of an easily accessible non-rotating format. So non-rotating as in it's not like nothing ever goes out of it. Yeah. And so, yeah, if you basically find cards that are within 2 years, then yeah, if you promise to do that, I would. I don't know where my Reaper King deck even is. My Reaper. It seems I've got an affiliation with 5 colors, but yeah, that was my Scarecrow deck, and in theory, again, it could have been even more powerful if I'd bought cards within that standard. But yeah. So Magic the Gathering. Let's now talk about the other thing, which, yeah, and a quick reminder to everyone: comment, ask questions, from like, follow. If you're just lurking, that's totally okay. I thank you for being here, and if you want to ask anything, then please do. Let's talk about Daybreak, which is the game from Matt Leacock and Matteo Menapace. So here we are. Here's 2 of us. There's Lynn and there's Amit. So there were 5 of us kind of playing. Because it's a 1 to 4 player game. We played as 4 countries. Chloe, who used to be the USA until I took this photo, Chloe had to leave at 4:30 sharp, and Amit came a little bit late. So what's ended up happening was that Amit I try to involve them, but you know me. I mean, well, if you don't know me, then I do have strong opinions, and so if I say, yeah, even if I'm trying to involve a teammate, like if it's okay, this is my area, that's your area, I'll be better at kind of, okay, I'm not going to speak to you about your area unless, like, at least ask you what you want to do first before I put in my own advice. But with my area, like, I'd draw 5 cards every turn. Then it would be like, how are you using these 5 cards? And then I would. The truth is, like, for at least 2 or 3 of the cards, I'd be like, okay, this is what I'm doing with them. But these 2 cards, I'm not sure. So I would involve Amit that way. I would say, hey, what do you think that I should do with this one? Do you think this might be better or this? And like Amit was kind of being a sounding board, and so having that extra person definitely made the game easier and allowed us to spot things. And Amit was also taking notes and going around taking notes what all the other countries were doing. And when Chloe left, Amit took over the USA. We had 4 players, as I say. It is a very slightly asymmetric game. So the 4 players are USA, China, Europe, and majority world. And that's a really interesting thing because it kind of, yeah, there's kind of the economic power and how much they're actually, I think it's kind of based on how much they're actually contributing to carbon, maybe. But yeah, so if you look at, this is, yeah, both of these photos are really early in the game. Let me see if I can actually. No, I don't think. So, yeah, the way the game works, it's all about this tableau that you've got up top. You start off with 5 cards, and each additional turn, you're going to draw 5 cards by default, fewer if you have communities in crisis, more if you've got special abilities. Every card kind of has 2 possible ways to be used. You can either use it for the icons, which are on the top right, and then you can tuck it behind things and make one of your existing, because you've only got 5 powers at a time, you can only have 5 powers. So you can either tuck it behind to make things more powerful. So here, my left power is I'm able to generate green energy. And that was an upgrade from my starting thing. To the right, that was one of my starting powers. I am able to give stuff to other people, but I can use that once for every little kind light bulb that is behind it. And so every light bulb that I got, because that was our whole strategy. Like for China, our strategy was, okay, this is really good. Discard cards, and now I'm able to make 8 green energy. and boom, then I can distribute up to 8 green energy. And if I discard like all 5 of the cards, I could have made 40 green energy. But obviously you want to do other stuff as well. And the other stuff involves getting, like, maybe lowering your demand, but then actually if you are able to make green energy, it feels like, and again, maybe it is making a political statement, because what the game is telling me as a player is that it's easier to switch to green energy in a 30-year kind of than try to lower demand of energy, that we should be focusing on conversion of energy rather than lowering demand. But then the structural dirty changes, that's something that we need to change on a political landscape. And so those were things that we needed to do individually. But then USA had reparations where they were able to give other people cards, which was really useful. And again, the other message was it's really useful if countries collaborate. And there is a little bit of a negative, like a depressing lesson, that I feel like we basically won because a couple of the cards that were used were really good. One of them just allowed us to decommission energy so quickly. And one card to, like, without the ability to manufacture green energy so quickly, it wouldn't have worked. And, the fact that these are cards and the cards were in a random order, and it might have all been at the bottom, and we might have been destined to always lose. And that's a stark reminder that the truth, maybe we are destined to lose. I mean, maybe there is literally nothing we can do because the cards are stacked against us, but we don't know. And hopefully the cards aren't stacked against us. And hopefully we are able to overcome this and, reverse climate chaos, because ultimately that's the only way that we're able to survive, either by, helping things so that more carbon is being sequestered, and actually it has to be both, we make massive structural changes, and that has to be coming from the politicians. That's basically what this game is telling me. And I think that these seem like decent lessons. And also, the other lesson is the power of incremental change. That firstly, the power of incremental change, and secondly, the power of waiting. Because if you decommission things, then that is less energy, not just this year, but every single year later on. And if you set up a structure, like once the structure sets up, like if that's the way it is, like once the green energy is replacing, then that's going to be a change every single year. And if a tree is planted, that's going to be every single year. And this kind of feeling of incremental advantage is also mirrored in the, icon matching mechanism. And there is an element of, okay, we need to wait until the right time because we've got all these cards, and then a lot of the things are, okay, for every card that you discard, you get this benefit, but then this benefit is multiplied by how many icons. So if we can survive another 2 turns, then we don't want, please don't discard your cards for any green energy. Don't worry about that. I will be in charge of the green energy but we do have to survive another 2 turns, and it might look like things are going bad, but once this all kicks in, and again, I guess that's also the value on long-term planning, something that governments, honestly, the fact that governments are in place for 4 years and their ambition is normally not to leave the country in a better place at the end of that 4 years, but oh my gosh, this is an inherently political game. I'm not going to apologize for getting political. Some politicians are full of ego, and I believe that's their major, it's I believe that a lot of politicians have entirely selfish motivations, which is terrible. And I wish it wasn't so, but that is the truth. That a lot of, and even if you were completely magnanimous and trying to do the best for your country, because you can only plan ahead. Okay, I'm going to do this 4-year thing, but you can't set up a plan for this is going to be built up and built up, but don't touch it until keep it going, and then after 10, 15 years, then it will reap rewards. Like, that's not a thing that politicians can actually do. And honestly, that also makes me more depressed for the current situation. And we do need to, I mean, how can we change things? Like, just, I guess, making sure that people know that this is an important thing, like voting for the Green Party, or if you're based in the UK or whatever, or voting for parts. Yeah, that feels like the... Anyway, it was a really good game. I'm really happy that I got the chance to play it. I am glad that we were able to win. Frankly, myself and Chloe have played like thousands of games between us, and if we weren't able to win, then I know it was a first game, but there are options to make it even harder. There's also options to make it easier if people need to, and one of the players had said that they had played already like 3 or 4 times and had always lost. But if you've played a lot of games before, like strategic games, I think that you've got a good chance of winning. I'll also say, from a gameplay point of view, I really like the simultaneous turns. It feels a little bit like Spirit's Island in that way. You've got stuff going on, then, and let's see if I can read this. No, I can't read the reference card. It was a really good reference card, I promise you. But you've got stuff going on with the world. You increase your energy demands because your population's always increasing, and that's not something that you can really change. I mean, let's not go there. Bad stuff happens with the world, the carbon comes out, bad stuff happens, and more bad stuff happens, and then potentially you get more communities in crisis, and then you're trying to build up resilience against infrastructure or nature or social problems. It is obviously simplified. It's not a simulation, it's a vague facsimile. But during the main player turn, the points where you're actually making, except for one point where it's, okay, which of these 2 global things are we going for, which does bring about, okay, we've got to make this choice, because otherwise it would be a bit solitary. But otherwise it's kind of, okay, I've got my 5 cards. I'm going to work out what 5 cards I've got. Okay, everyone, this is my broad strategy. You don't need to hear about my exactly what I'm doing with all these cards. And the fact that you can't pass around cards super easily actually makes it manageable. If you could pass around cards super easily, then again it would be, whoa, now I need to look at everyone's cards. But because of the way the game is, I only had to have a vague understanding of, okay, USA is in a good position, like they can now take some of our people, they're doing stuff, okay, they're doing stuff to try and sort themselves out. This is my role, they're trying to make things on the board. Okay, everyone, this is what I'm going to do this turn. I mean, in this game, I am going to be the person who makes the green energy. So I'm announcing this, so no one else bother making the green energy. I will give you all the green energy, and everyone else focus on, the ecological stuff, like plant the trees. Europe did a lot of that, and Majority World just needed a lot of help, because Majority World was definitely in the worst situation, which reflects the reality. It was really good, and if I owned the game, I would probably have had, like, after this stream, I'd be spending like an hour going through all the cards and pondering them. Yeah, I would happily play this game basically in time, and I do encourage, once it comes out, for everyone to go and back it. And it is interesting, like the whole notion of, like, for Earth Rising, I deliberately didn't back for a physical copy just because it felt kind of weird. And it was like, yeah, I'll probably play it a couple of times, but do I need another copy for me? I probably don't. And so, yeah, if they ever want to send me a copy, I'd happily play it through, review it, and then pass it on to someone else. But Earth Rising and also this do make, I mean, those games, they aren't very carbon heavy. I mean, I know that Earth Rising was advertising itself as a carbon positive game, where they were paying for a good number of trees to be planted, and they'd not use like such a, I think it was like zero plastic, but yeah. And then I know that people say, oh, our hobby has so much little stuff, but it's, and yeah, looking at miniatures and stuff, maybe it is a distraction from the bigger issues, like public transport. That should be much better. We shouldn't be, yeah, we should have more things that run efficiently. We should be lobbying the government to, decommission coal and like just go for cleaner energy. But anyway, it's really good. That's basically, if you've got any questions, then go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you. Question of the day, question of the day. Here's this question before we go on our way. The question of the day is, how many plants do you have? Like in your living space? Whether, and if you have a shared living space, I'm going to ask, how many plants are you personally responsible for if you've got few enough to count? I've got one. I've got one that I'm responsible for. I should probably check the water. I might have overwatered when I came back from being away for a week. It's a Christmas plant. The leaves were all dried and it was dying, but then, new leaves started coming out. I'm not sure if that's normal. Maybe the leaves were just, I think it might have been slightly underwatered, and then, okay, now I've got more energy, I can put more leaves out. But hopefully my Christmas plants will continue to survive. We will see. Only one plant for me. How about you? Over to you. What are you up to? You can share pots, and if you want to, if you've got anything you want to share, let me know. I am probably going to be, yep, I am going to be getting out in a wee bit, having some food. I will actually allow myself, it's going to be a relatively easy day today for me. I'm going to allow myself to chill out. I will draw another musical note on this card before I forget, just because I feel I should. And I'm going to allow myself to do design, but only if I, but as a fun, I'm not going to design the games that I have to. So yeah, I really should be designing Ginnabind Junior, but I'll do that on Thursday or Friday morning before I play it on Friday morning. Yeah, I had an idea yesterday. Oh yeah, this was what I was going to talk about. I had an idea for an abstract game. I had a vision of people placing stones, and then when you had like a line of 3 or maybe 4, I wasn't sure, then those stones were removed. And it was kind of like making sure that you were able to make lines, but your opponent wasn't. And while I'm talking about it, it does make me realize that you need to have a neutral color, like something to block the other person with. And what I was thinking was that each turn, so my idea is each turn you place one piece of every color. So you're placing yours in the good spaces, your opponent's in the bad spaces, and then and maybe there's cards, like originally it was just like lines, but then I was thinking, oh, it would be interesting if there's like cards, and then the cards have like, okay, if you've got this shape, you get this reward, this shape, you get this reward, this shape, you get this reward. And maybe this shape, you get to a certain number of points. There would need to be points tokens or a little score tracker, which is like, this is probably not going to be a self-published game, but I thought it would be interesting to try out and solo play test it, which is relatively easy to do for a 2-player abstract strategy, perfect information game, because then I don't need to worry about the real-time elements or the, oh, what do I know? Ignoring the fact that I actually know everything that's in the other person's hand. Josie says, 15 houseplants, and I love an abstract game. By abstract game, do you mean the same thing that I do, like a perfect information game, where there's zero randomness and everything once you've done the setup, like, hey, that's my fish, or photosynthesis, which, even though they have theme, I would consider them like what I consider an abstract strategy game. And of course, my favorite is Go, and honestly, chess I wouldn't put in my top 10. I would put Pilos and Corridor up there, and photosynthesis. Actually, I think that 3 of those were in my top 10 games ever anyway. Then I start struggling which ones I would add, but I do love just the pondering, okay, I do that, you do that, and having that deep pondering. But yeah, that's basically what I'm up to. What are you up to? Recap and wrap up before we finish up. To recap and wrap up, yeah, Daybreak, quality game. Well done, Matteo. Well done, Matt. And I hope that you have a lot of success with it. Dominion Reunited. I enjoyed the deck I made, and I don't think that. Yeah, I think that that's the deck that I would enjoy the most. And looking through the other cards, I'm like, yeah, now I've gotten that, and I've had my fix. I don't feel like I need to keep playing. And part of me kind of, again, wishes that, like, I would be happy to be, hey, let's go and play some games with just these things that you got from the pre-release, and I'll buy a meal and drink to support the venue. But yeah. And yeah, I feel like, yeah, I tried to review Magic the Gathering once, and it is such a beast because it is so many things. And as soon as you start talking about it, it's how are you playing it? Are you playing the pre-constructed decks? Are you playing this type? Because the truth is, I think that as a game, as a set of rules, it's really good. It's solid. But it's the deck construction, so I need to sort out my yeah, it's the deck construction that is both the reason that it took off and also the downfall, and also the thing that makes it something that I can't easily remember. Yeah, those are some good abstract strategy games. Yeah, Battle Sheep, Connect 4, Quirkle. Yeah, I would not call Quirkle, if I'm remembering it correctly, I would not call Quirkle or Ingenious an abstract strategy game personally, because it's not a pure it's not perfect information. So yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, when you look at Magic the Gathering, yes, every deck is a slightly different game, says Josie. And yeah, it's easy to say, okay, do you want to buy this? Do you want to do this? It's like, should I play Magic the Gathering? There's so many follow-up questions to that. It's almost as big as saying, do I want to play a board game? And honestly, if you are, yeah. Anyway, and yeah, it sounds like I'm not forgetting Quirkle, but like, it's still kind of almost, and my game, it might actually be a lot smoother if I just add a little bit of luck and then I take those cards, but then, yeah, anyway, I'm going to play it a bit. So if you want to check me out, I am Stuff by Bez in all the places: Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. I will be sending. I'm slightly behind with parcels, I believe. I will send out everything. I had lots of pre-orders for a game about counting cat shapes and colours that keeps getting trickier, and also a game about quickly matching words to pictures, but never words to words or pictures to pictures. And I'll try and send those out on Tuesday at the latest. Sort those parcels out tomorrow. Today I'm having a proper day off. Stuffbybez.com/streams. You will find out that tomorrow. Tomorrow and Tuesday I don't have any topics set up. Wednesday we are discussing area majority and influence with Alan Paul. Thursday is What's His Gamma? Oh, exciting. So this is going to be with the president of Gamma, Frank West, who previously also the owner of City of Games. And so, yeah, I might make a little thing to solicit questions for that. And I am hoping that the 10th I'll be able to do some playtesting for the... No, it's not really playtesting. It's more evaluation. So yeah, some evaluation for the LDEC game design contest entries. And I believe 2 of them have been withdrawn from consideration because the submitters felt like they've already got enough feedback privately and they are happy for it to be... I told them that they're not in the top 5 probably. I think at this point I've got a good idea of what the top 5 is, but I would like to get a second opinion. But maybe I should just be like, yeah, this is the top 5. But yeah, some people were quite excited to see their game being played on video. So for all those people, I want to provide that opportunity as best I can. Anyway, yeah, always check Bez out, says Josie. Thank you very much. Share, spread the word. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Josie, for being here for all the questions. Lots of love, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Until next time, may you always, whether in a fantastical universe or in a facsimile of our own, may you always learn the lessons and think about the incremental advantages and put that to use in your own life. For now, lots of love and bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.